You're listening to Cards to the Moon, a podcast about trading cards from both a collector and investor perspective. We hope you'll stick around for the ride as we take a deep dive into the state of the hobby, share some hot takes, hopefully some useful advice, and fun stories along the way. Hey guys, welcome back to Cards to the Moon. This is episode 315. My name is Clark from 5cardguys.com and 5cardguys on Instagram, YouTube, and on Facebook. Co-hosting with me is John, who is back. You can find him on IG at TradeU@Recess. First, John, I want to ask you, how has your summer been? It's been so long, so I want to know how you've been doing.
It's been a while. I know work got kind of crazy and just life was sort of happening. So
Sure.
apologies to everybody, but it's been a great summer.
That's good to hear. Summer's pretty much over now that it's September. Hyung, he couldn't join us today. Something came up last minute, but we'll be hoping that he can join for our next episode. All right, off the top today, I don't know if you saw, John, but a record $416 million was spent on online card sales in August. That equates to a record 5.87 million transactions, making August the hottest month in hobby history. So, that's incredible. This set an industry record for the third consecutive month. So this seems to be the trend over the summer. John, what do you think of the hobby these days? And do you think we're in another bubble, or are we saying cards to the moon?
Well, it's our show, right? So we gotta say
that's what we're
cards to the
hoping.
moon.
Yeah.
It's tough to say. I feel like sports cards is gonna go on a bit of a run because Pokemon had its turn, and I feel like there might be a bubble with Pokemon, but at the same time, I don't really know what I'm talking about because I'm not in Pokemon. Pokemon kind of has a different atmosphere or like a ecosphere or whatever, however we want to see it.
Sure.
I think there's just so many collectors in that world that I feel like there should be a bubble. Like your economist had kind of points to, I feel like there's a bubble coming, but you never know because the collector base is so incredibly strong.
Yeah.
On the sports card side, I think the most recent activity, and we talked about this before when we saw like the gem rates for one of the biggest gem rate cards was the 89 Griffey, or like the most submitted to PSA at one point.
Right.
And that was pretty recent. And I remember us kind of giving the opinion that I think that's a lot of people returning to the hobby, like digging into their collections from back in the day and kind of returning and submitting to PSA. And obviously the submitting process is a lot more user friendly these days. So it's easy to just walk up to your local card shop or do it yourself.
True.
So I feel like the collector base in sports cards is sort of returning. Maybe not as robust as Pokemon, but that gives me some confidence that we could be seeing a bit of a run with sports cards. And I mean, we're seeing it on the high end, right? That's the record sales. And I'm assuming the record sales numbers, a lot of it is TCG related.
Sure.
But clearly what people are seeing on Instagram and what people are seeing on social media is the big boy sales. Like the big collectors are spending big time money on really, really rare cards. So I think that is giving confidence to a lot of, collectors like us, like everyday Joe Schmo collectors that spend $100 here, $1,000 here, not so big money. So yeah, I could see this being maybe not like pandemic level. Like that was a little bit too crazy.
Right.
But I think I think we might be seeing a healthy run here, which is really exciting for all sports card collectors. Yeah.
For sure. I agree with you. We've discussed this in the pod before too. It does feel different than the pandemic peaks, the pandemic hype. I think you still have a little bit of that in this run where there are people that are looking to flip, make a profit because they're seeing the money flowing in. And so you're going to always attract those kind of investor types, not real true collectors in that sense. So I'm sure that's propping up some of the numbers. But to your point, I think there are also genuine collectors coming back to the hobby, which is creating this more solid foundation for this run. So I think we're gonna see a correction at some point, but I don't think it's gonna be as drastic as the one we saw post COVID, right?
Right. Hmm.
So, and you're right. I think TCG has a lot to do with it. And every time Roy and Will, we've been having them on the show monthly just because of the TCG hype, and WWE cards are booming as well. But I think we're all on the same page when we think it's pretty much a bubble, but we just don't know when it's gonna pop. And
Yeah.
I don't think it'll be even for Pokemon. I don't think it'll be like the correction won't be as drastic as we saw with sports cards in 2022,
Hmm. Hmm.
2023. But we'll see. We've been wrong before in this hobby. It's wildly unpredictable, but it's fun nonetheless. But yeah, it's kind of exciting to see. The other thing I want to mention was, the 400 plus million dollars in online transaction, which is amazing. And people can say, oh, there's that Kevin O'Leary sale with the MJ Kobe dual logo band, but that only accounts for 13 million out of the 400 million, right? So there's a lot of volume being done on eBay, on all the online auction houses. So I don't know, that's another bullish sign for me.
Hmm. Hmm. It's going to be interesting because I feel like in terms of the show, we're kind of going down the path of the pandemic. When we first started the show, we were always talking
Yes.
about what's the next thing that it'd be worthy investing in. So I'm actually going to be interested in hearing people's opinions on. Obviously, right now for sports cards, the goats are making their run, right? Like if you
Mm-hmm.
own something special like an MJ or Kobe, Tom Brady, like the goats are kind of making their run right now. But
Yep.
what's next? Like is vintage? Everything kind
Mm.
of suppressed and went down. Is vintage going to be the next one to make a comeback?
Yeah.
Is it now the time to really invest in sort of the non-GOAT legends, the Peyton Mannings, the Barry Bonds? Like, is it time to go for those guys? Is it time to go back to like Luka Doncic and go back to sort of like quasi-modern? So it's going to be an interesting conversation where collectors and investors alike start talking about what's the next thing
Yeah.
to go for.
Yeah, there are definitely cycles to everything. And when you just mentioned Luka Doncic, I was going to joke. I don't know if you should go back to Doncic Silver Prism as a play.
Yeah, yeah,
once
yeah,
once we start doing that, it might truly be a bubble. Once
yeah, for
you
sure.
know, but the one of the lessons I think we've learned because of that pandemic hype and then that bubble bursting is a lot more people are more savvy, right? We're not going for the non-numbered cards, or we're not spending crazy
Right.
amounts on non-numbered cards because we've definitely, even collectively here on this pod, we held the bag on cards like Lewis Robert and other players that their cards aren't as rare, so we don't want to be doing the same thing. But it is an interesting question. I'm curious to see what the next play is for a lot of these collector and investor types. All
Mhm.
right, let's move on to hobby headlines. Okay, I'm going to switch gears a little bit, but a lot of people in the hobby seem to be talking about this one as well. And it's about a card show, the Lake Worth Card Show to be specific, which announced a new policy banning customer to customer trades or sales unless you're a vendor, right? Unless you purchase a table at the show. Now, if you look at any of the comments in these posts, the majority of people think this is ridiculous, and there's definitely some backlash against the card show. But to be fair, I'm sure there are organizers of other card shows that feel the same way or similar as the Lake Worth card show. And if I'm going to play devil's advocate, I would say that if you allow trades or sales to happen between collectors, then what's the point of setting up and paying a fee to have a table at a card show? Then in turn, that would threaten the existence of that card show perhaps in the future if you don't have enough vendors to support the show. Or you can always raise the fee to enter the show, but that might also deter people from coming to the show. So that would be the argument, I guess, the general argument, I guess, from these card show organizers as why to implement this kind of policy. But yeah, John, I'm curious, what are your initial thoughts on this matter?
Yeah, I think I agree with the general sentiment. I It's a little old school minded. The hobby is changing and you have to sort of adapt with the times. I can understand it from a business perspective. I can understand it. But I mean, a lot of these shows, and not to knock on a lot of folks here, but there's a lot of legacy vendors. They
Mm-hmm.
sort of the old man on the porch imageries, if you
Yeah,
will.
yeah,
Like get out of here, you young kids, get off my porch. There's a lot of
yeah.
that kind of happening in the hobby. So there's these legacy. They're just getting pissed off at anything. They're getting pissed off at young kids
Mm-hmm.
walking around trying to wheel and deal them. They're getting pissed off at, I don't know, the whole breaking uh,
Right.
aspect. And I mean, I'm not a big fan of the breaking thing either, but this is the evolution of the hobby. And at some point, even if you're a legacy guy, even if you're older, you have to kind of accept this is the way it's morphing.
Mm-hmm.
And if young, not even kids, even us, like walking into card shows and we're doing trades on the side, making deals on the side, that's now a part of the ecosystem in the card show space. And that actually what makes me excited to go to a card show, if
Mm-hmm.
I'm being honest. Making
Yep.
deals because I love making deals with dealers too. But you're going
Mm-hmm.
to run into a lot of dealers that are completely unfair. They're wanting 60% on comps and then they're
Right.
asking 130% on comps on the card you want. So that I'm
Yeah.
just not going to deal with that guy. And then there's a collector here that goes, "Hey, you're actually interested in that card? Like I actually have it. Let's work on a deal." Like boom. You're
Mm-hmm.
getting it's just more options for the people entering the show, and it creates a better experience. Whether it may not create a great experience for that particular vendor,
Yep.
but I think this is a real learning lesson for them on how they should go about their business at these card shows. Like this is the way it's done, and there's some etiquette involved. Let's not get it twisted. Like you don't just
Right.
walk up to a vendor's table and start dealing with another person at the guy's table. Like there's some etiquette, but I mean, uh, there is a little portion that I could be a little bit empathetic. I'm not going to completely swing one way. You do
Yeah.
see a lot of sort of deals happening right outside of the show. It's an easy way for people to kind of go to a place where they know there's going to be a lot of people with a lot of cards, and you start doing
Mm-hmm.
all these crazy deals in the lobby, and kids are making up like makeshift tables, and they're kind of skirting the system a little bit. You're going to see some of that too.
Yeah.
Um, but yeah, overall, I think it's the old man on the porch
Right.
waving his fist, and it's yeah, you can see why they're getting criticized by the comments. I'm not
Sure.
surprised. Yeah.
I'm not surprised either because that was my first reaction. I'm like, this sounds really short sighted, and you know what? If I guess it's not a big deal for bigger shows. Like I went to the National this summer. I went to FanFest again, and you're seeing people making deals on the side all the time, and the organizers of these bigger shows don't care. And you could argue, I guess, that it doesn't matter to them because they still have the volume going to all these different dealers and vendors. But I don't know how big that Lake Worth card show is. Maybe it's a smaller show. I'm gathering it's a smaller show. And so there's a bigger impact on people doing side deals and it could take away from some of the vendors. But at the same time, kind of to your point, like that's the draw if for a lot of collectors to make as many deals as possible, whether it's with a vendor or with a fellow customer, right? So if you play it out, then just say you ban these shows. Like actually, there was the sign. I don't know if this is from the Lake Worth Card Show in a subsequent show, but the sign says any customers that are caught trying to sell cards, buy cards, or make deals with cards with any other customers without buying a table will be thrown out. Okay, so that's what the sign said. It's a little aggressive to me, but if I saw that, I'm like, I don't know if I want to come back to this show to tell you the truth. You
Yeah.
know, if
Yeah.
especially if it's a smaller show and there's only 50 vendors, let's say that's how many there are, and I just don't like the inventory. Why would I come back for the next show? You know,
Right.
um, but if I knew that there were other collectors coming and I could make a deal with them, I might come and I might still check out the other tables just in case there are cards that I like from vendors that are there.
Mhm.
But if I have a bad first experience, or not even a bad one, but I just leave empty handed, the likelihood of me coming back to that show knowing that I can only buy from vendors at the show. And if they're the same vendors, like they're, a lot of these shows, the same vendors come month after month, I'm probably not going to come back. So I think that's what I mean by short sightedness. The organizers want to
Yeah.
expand the hobby. You want to do better business. You want more customers to come in. And I think taking away these, essentially it's trade night, right? And trade nights are growing in popularity. It draws people in. Essentially, if you're banning that, I think you're just harming the business model of the card show overall.
Yeah. And I mean, when you take a step back, this is like, for some of those vendors that are really complaining, and I saw someone, I can't remember who posted it, but Sports Card Investor, somebody post, a lot of the big boys are posting about this lake show,
Right.
Lake Worth Card Show. But the post had two images. The first image was the actual Lake Worth Card Show post about you will be kicked
Yeah.
out, the thing that you explained. And then
Yeah.
the second picture was, I think, a vendor's rant. I think it was on Facebook or Instagram or something, but this long rant about how he's so pissed off at these kids coming in and yada 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 and
Yeah.
get out of here if like if you're not gonna. I go through you're affecting my business. I buy the tables and you're doing this and that and like it's pissing me off.
Hmm.
But I mean, when for those people, like this is simple, like market dynamics, consumer and supplier, right? Like
Yes.
if you have products set up and 10 people walk by and they're not interested because you just don't have the products that they want, right?
Yeah.
If you happen to have a product that they want, but some other table or some other kid has the exact same product, now you're now competing with two or three others to make that sale, right? So
Hmm.
whether it's you're competing with another vendor or you're competing with a kid in the lobby, if you don't make the sale and you lose it to the kid in the lobby did something better than you. They made a trade. Their numbers were better than you.
Right.
Whatever it was that they did, it was better than you. It's just simple market dynamics. You had
Yeah.
it priced too expensive. You're being greedy. You weren't. The guy was looking to trade in, and you're giving him 60% comps, and he was like, "Well, you know what? Like, this kid outside is making a deal with me, and we're gonna go." We're gonna go straight one for one or whatever the or you buy it for a little bit cheaper. But it's just simple market dynamics in my mind. If you
Yeah.
lose out on the deal, it's not because these kids are making deals on the side and that's ruining your business. It's because you have product there and you're just not selling it properly. That's just my opinion. And maybe I'm being a little bit too harsh, but if
No,
you lose
I,
out on a deal, like I mean, that's
yeah.
on you, man. You got to step back and rethink how you're
Yeah.
pricing your cards, step back and rethink how you're negotiating with people, how you're treating people. Maybe
Yeah.
you're being a big grouch. I don't know, right? So,
Yeah, totally. That totally makes sense to me, and I agree with you. And I love how we're like the imagery that we're thinking of is this grumpy old man. It could be a young guy too, I guess.
yeah.
but
Sorry to the grumpy old man out there.
you're
Stick
probably
up for
right, though. You're probably right. They're probably grumpy old men, but yeah, no. Like honestly, what are you gonna say next? eBay is ruining my sales. I wish people would
right.
stop buying and selling online. They need to come to
Yeah.
my vendor or my shop. Like that's ridiculous, right? At a certain
Yeah.
point, you got to adjust to how the market works. Where and part of the coming to card show is the human interaction. That's a plus. If especially if it's local. So again, it speaks to what you're saying, how you treat your customers. I would gladly spend a little bit more if I really appreciated the owner of a card store or a vendor that I'm familiar with because I know I'm getting
Right.
fair deals.
Right.
And if I know that, then I'd be glad to make more deals with them, and especially if
Right.
they have the inventory that I like, right? So
For sure. Yeah. And
yeah,
I mean, we can all admit it. Even as a vendor, I'm sure I've never been a vendor, but I'm sure vendors will also say, I have a lot of returning customers. And I
yep,
actually, going to the expo, I haven't gone to the national before, but going to the expo in Toronto,
hmm,
when I go in there, I usually look for the guys that I've dealt with before, the guys that treated me well, that's super fair,
yep,
that I enjoyed, had a great experience with. And you're right, that customer service element for some of these vendors, they're just so black and white with money. They
hmm,
don't realize there is a customer service element. If you treat the person buying at the table really well, really fair. Look at King of Cards. Like his
Yeah,
content is absolutely exploding and
yeah,
everybody is in love with it because he is dealing with people the way they want to be dealt with. Like he's
for
it's just
sure.
the perfect imagery of what everybody wants in an experience, in a vendor, experience. And he's doing it perfectly. And that's why his content is exploding. That's somebody these vendors should be looking at and being like, I should adjust and start being like that. Because the customer service element, I think, is super underrated in the vendor experience.
Yeah. Is there anything else you would want to see? Like, if you're a vendor and you know this is going on, there's competition, but if you're a vendor, what would you do to attract more people to your booth? Like, I think this is where creativity comes in, and maybe this is a question for Roy and Will because they set up at VonCon recently, and I think the next time we meet for a podcast, I'll ask this very same question, and I think neither of them mind having people do side deals outside or trade nights even, but what other than pricing your cards fairly. That's an obvious one. I wonder what else you can do in terms of being a dealer to get more people to come your way.
Right. I think and I haven't been to Roy's booth. He's only set up once or twice, but knowing who they are as friends, like we know them really well,
Yeah.
and they're not grizzled vendors, right?
Right.
They're new to it, so it's going to be pretty organic. Like they're going to be there almost like a collector selling to other collectors,
Yeah.
and I think that although it's very natural to them and it's very organic, I think a lot of collectors approaching vendor booths, if you're like an old grizzled vendor, sometimes that can be a little bit intimidating, right? Because you kind of brought like, what are you offering? $80? No, that's brutal. Like, no, like I'm not
Yeah.
interested. And like
Yeah.
for a lot of people approaching a vendor like that, it's like, oh, that's kind of intimidating. This guy's a little bit intimidating. Yeah, I get he's being black and white. There's a lot of customers. He's got to be quick.
Yeah.
But for someone like Roy and Will, like approaching them, they're going to be like collector first mindset. And you walk in, you're probably having like a nice conversation about the hobby and all of that stuff. And I think that will
Yeah.
go a long way. Obviously, they're not just going to get sales right away. And that really
Hmm.
that component is the product that they actually have.
Yeah.
But I think organically, similar to King of Cards, if you keep treating people the right way, you keep having positive interactions, you're going to get returning customers. You're going to be start to get known as, oh, this guy's really fair. If you ever go to the card show, go visit Roy. He's got really great cards and he's actually very, very fair. And he actually
Totally.
buys at 85% comps, yada, yada. You start growing a reputation. I think that's how you kind of grow organically.
Yeah. And I think not to overdo this old grizzled vendor analogy or description, but I think the new way of doing things is to put yourself out there more, whether it's online or through just your previous in-person interactions, right? To create this good impression for them to return the next time. And to your point, King of the Cards is a great example. But when I was at the National, I don't know if you're familiar with Talon Sports Cards. He has a big
Yeah,
online following. Really
right.
nice guy. Talks to everyone that comes up. There's a lineup for his booth, okay? And
Wow.
at the National, there are a lot of booths, but there was a lineup for his because they want to just talk with him and try to make a
Mm,
deal with him. And it's not that he has different cards than other vendors. Like he has a lot of downtowns. Guess what? A lot of other vendors have downtowns, but he's willing to make a deal. They just enjoy his content, so they kind of feel like they already know him, so that they don't feel like they're going to be ripped off. And if there's no deal, he's generally respectful. And they you leave not feeling bad, but you feel good that you actually had some kind of interaction with Talent Sports Cards. So I think that all comes to what we're saying. I feel like the ones that do have the bigger complaints about these side deals going on are, I would guess and I would assume, they're these vendors that have been just used to be that are just used to doing something a certain way for so long. And yeah, hobby's changing. Every time we come on the pod, this is why we're still doing the pod. It's evolving so much every week that we're having something new to discuss. And I think hobbyists, vendors, collectors, investors, we all have to adjust as the hobby does. So I think that's an interesting point of discussion. We'll see what happens with the Lake Worth card show. I'm really curious to see if the numbers do well, but if I'm going to place a bet, I think it's going to be more damaging than beneficial with this new banned policy in place. So we will see. All right, let's move on to our next segment of the show, and it's called Quiz Show. All right, now that August is over and summer is pretty much done, as we were mentioning off the top, GemRate released some data for card grading for the month of August. So that's the theme of today's quiz show, okay? And I have 5 questions for you, John. Name in order the 4 major grading companies that had the most cards graded for August 2025 to the least. So the 4 major grading companies, which had the most cards graded to the least.
All right. PSA number 1.
Of course.
Number 2, I have to assume is CGC, CSG. Are they the same company? CGC? Yeah,
Okay,
yeah. Yeah, I think they're probably number 2. Oh,
And
SGC's,
there's
I think they've been pretty bad, right? I think SGC, I bet gets bad too. But SGC's really been tanking. I'll give SGC the 3rd spot. I
okay.
feel like they might be going really down there, but because Beckett's really bad, so it's got to be SGC and then Beckett.
Beckett's really
Tag
bad.
rating is probably still a little bit niche. Yeah, I think those are the 4. I think it's PSA, CGC, SGC,
SGC.
Beckett. Yeah.
You got it. Exactly like that. PSA, 1.66 million cards graded for August. Then second is CGC with 438,000. SGC third with 118,000. And you're right, Beckett finishing 4th with 64,000.
Right. Oh man, CGC is killing SGC.
Why do you think that is? I think the answer is pretty obvious, probably.
Well, the TCG component.
Yeah, I think so too.
Yeah.
I think so too, for sure.
Yeah.
All right. This was the 3rd question, but I think you kind of alluded to it, so I'll ask this question next. Year over year, from August 24 to August 2025, which grading company saw the biggest decrease?
Definitely. Like I haven't been paying attention to numbers, but I'm pretty sure SGC and CGC. I mean, didn't SGC have the 2 spot? Right. I could have sworn they had the 2 spot.
Oh,
So
you
the
mean
fact
last
that
year?
yeah, so the fact
Yeah.
that CGC's at 400,000 submissions and SGC's at 118, like that's
Yeah.
I can't like I mean Beckett's been going down, but SGC like that's a sad state of affairs. Like that they're number 1 in terms of drop. I'd have to
Yeah.
imagine.
You're right. You got it. SGC year over year minus 29%, and even month over month from July to August is minus 23%, which is also the
Wow.
biggest drop. Well, I guess we didn't talk about this on the pod, but maybe we could just spend a minute or so on it now. We've
Yeah.
heard that Peter Steinberg, the former president of SGC, was integral. I think a lot of people thought that he did a really good job with SGC, announced that he was stepping down. He was very cordial about it. But I guess most people think that it's because PSA really, since they bought it, and since we kind of expected, um, they're not putting as many resources into SGC.
Mm.
It seems, and maybe the rumor is that Peter Steinberg didn't feel good about it and thought that this was a good time to leave the company. What do you think? What do you think of just where SGC is now as a brand, and do you think PSA is doing the right thing with SGC?
Yeah, this whole situation, like, I think Peter did a great job of bringing SGC into the number 2 spot. Like, I mean, he beat Beckett. I mean, Beckett to a certain extent, they to a certain extent beat themselves,
Right?
but
Yeah.
he did a great job in surpassing Beckett. And then PSA bought SGC, and since then, I don't know what they've done with SGC. I feel like they just
Yeah.
kind of left them to the side, and put all their eggs in PSA basket and just walk over their own company if they had to. And
Hmm.
at this point, I don't know, like this time next year, could feel like SGC is like just completely finished.
Wow.
Like maybe that's a hot take, and they won't be completely gone, but in terms of relevance and brand power, like I think by this time next year, based on the trajectory, I think we could really see a complete decline of SGC. Like I don't at this point, you ask any of our hobby friends, there's
Hmm.
really no reason to submit anything to SGC, and I think a lot of people aren't even that happy. Even the thought of like, oh, I really like the tuxedo look. I don't even see people saying that anymore, right? Because I mean, if your
Yeah.
cards are not even worth half of PSA 10, like as much as you like the tuxedo look, you're not gonna like that aspect.
Yeah.
So you're gonna be like, screw that.
Yeah.
It's not worth the tuxedo look. So I don't know. Like I just it makes me question why PSA even bought SGC. If they knew they could just maybe they saw Peter as a threat and they're like, you know what?
Mm.
Instead of losing market share, let's just buy them
Yeah.
and the death of SGC will be our gain of market share, right? I don't know. Like maybe they're just like it's better to buy them out than continue maybe bleeding losses. But it seems kind of
Yeah.
weird. I feel like the PSA with the right strategy and based on their current strategy, they could have beat out SGC anyways. I don't know. It's all really kind of
Yeah.
confusing how PSA has treated this whole purchase, but really maybe it was just them buying it out to stop the bleeding, and then that was it. Zero strategy involved after the fact. Let SGC kind of burn to the wayside.
Yeah. No, that's those are good questions to ask. Um, but I mean, where we are now, it seems that that's one of the reasons why PSA bought out SGC, just to get rid of the competition in that sense. They were
Right.
nice about it at the beginning, but in reality, maybe this was their end game, right? And I think I've said on this pod before, the SGC vintage I think could be a thing that they could really focus on and really keep a niche that way. But other than that, yeah, modern, no one's going to SGC. I mean, 100. I was just looking at the numbers. I should say no one's going to 112,000 cards out of the what 118,000. So almost the whole thing were sports cards going to SGC, and I think that's because of the value. It's pretty cheap. I think they had some promos, and it's generally cheaper to send to SGC than to PSA. But that means with TCG booming, only 6,000 went to SGC. Like no one from the TCG community is sending their cards to
Wow.
SGC. Like they're fourth place when it comes to that category,
Yeah.
right? So that's interesting. But yeah, I think the expectation for a lot of people now is that like you said, SGC is just going to continue to decline, especially if sports cards was the thing that was propping them up. And if that's
Mm.
decreasing, double digit decreases month by month, year over year, it's not a good sign for SGC. So something to keep an eye on. Um, yeah, too bad. I think there's people suggesting that Peter Steinberg should go to Beckett. Maybe he could do something there
Hmm.
to really revive that brand. That'll be an interesting news development if that ever happened. But
Yeah. And the craziest development in all of this is I think everyone is probably in agreement that Beckett has the better chance of revival over SGC, which
now,
is kind of crazy to say, but
yeah,
I think it's pretty obvious they have, especially with the black label still being super relevant and all that stuff.
yeah.
Beckett still has the opportunity to come back.
Beckett's probably was the one that was celebrating the hardest when they heard Peter Steinberg stepping down and
Right.
SGC is heading towards the wrong direction. All right, this one's an easy one for you too. Year over year, the other way from August 2024 to August 2025, the highest increase was 156%.
Holy
Uh,
cow.
which grading company was that? You already mentioned it. It's
CGC, yeah.
CGC. Yep. And that is primarily due, as we expected, to the growth of TCG cards, Pokemon cards in particular. Out of the 438,000 cards total that were graded in August, 402,000 were TCG cards.
Holy, that's
Yeah.
crazy.
So they're the other way. Not as many sports card collectors are going to CGC, but TCG is, yeah, definitely, besides PSA, CGC is the second choice by
Right.
far. All right.
Wow.
Speaking of PSA, question number 4. They're still dominating, of course. Of the 1.66 million cards PSA graded in August, how many were TCG cards?
Wow. You know, when I look at social media, as
Mm-hmm.
impressive as those CGC numbers are, I'm still seeing almost everything Pokemon, especially Pokemon, is
Mm-hmm.
PSA. Like I'm not really seeing
Yeah.
CGC out there on social media. So I don't know. Of the 1.6, I'm gonna say like a million was TCG. Like a
Yeah,
big number, like at least 50%. At least 800,000, I'm gonna guess, but I'm gonna say a million.
that's pretty good. 970,000.
Oh,
Almost
damn,
970,000. Yeah.
I'm killing it.
You're doing well. After these extended, time off from the pod, whenever you come back, you kill these quiz shows. Maybe that's what it takes.
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
But yeah, almost a million if you round up, right?
Holy cow.
That's crazy. And like 1% of that million is from Roy. So he's no, I'm just kidding. He just got a huge PSA sub
Yeah,
back. So
I saw his reel. Oh, incredible return.
yeah, he did. He
He's
did
killing it.
well. We'll ask him to, yeah, talk about it next time he's on the pod. But you're right. Like PSA, it's still dominating. You get the most value, just like sports cards. If it PSA tens, oh man, the multiplier on Pokemon cards, especially right now, is
Right.
pretty crazy. Um, and the only thing of like with Pokemon cards and TCG, pop count doesn't matter as much. We talked about it before on the pod, but pop
Hmm.
count doesn't matter as much apparently for some of these Pokemon cards.
Yeah,
PSA 10,
which is wild to
yeah,
think. I remember
yeah,
when Roy's talking, and he's like, "Yeah, the pop count is pretty low. It's at like 5,000 PSA 10." It's like, whoa! Like in the sports card world, we would
yeah.
be just torturing that card. 5,000. Oh man, that's like what is that? Like prison base? That's brutal.
Yeah,
But
yeah.
in the
Just
Pokemon space, it's like wow. It goes to show how many collectors there are and how many people are getting the cards and keeping it in their collection. So even if
yeah,
it is 5,000, there aren't that many floating out there in the wild. I mean, I'm sure at 5,000 PSA there would be a pretty decent chunk, but not like the
yeah,
sports card world where everybody's flipping those cards.
yeah. It's true. It's true. All right. Last question. The next 3 out of the number of cards that PSA is graded are all sports. Okay, so you got almost 1 million going to TCG. The next 3 are sports cards. Can you name them in order from highest number of cards graded to the lowest? Which sport is number 2? Which sport is number 3? And which sport is number 4 for PSA?
Sports only
Yep.
graded. I think the flipping game is super strong in football.
Mm-hmm.
I'm gonna guess football is number one.
Okay.
Wait, so you want top three?
Yeah, in order. So you're saying football is the highest sport because you're taking
I
TCG
think
away. Yeah.
football is number one.
Yep.
Then it's got to be either obviously baseball or basketball. Baseball's got Broman, which is got a huge flip component. And basketball, I mean, basketball's got Wemby. So I go basketball two. I go baseball three. Football, basketball, baseball.
Man, you're so close to getting a perfect score. But
Shoot.
it is football. You're right about that.
Okay.
Football had 200, about 228,000 cards graded in August by PSA. And then it's baseball with 193,000
Oh,
ish. Yeah.
Wemby, you let me down.
And, we're in baseball card season as well.
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
We're in the midst of it still. Playoff runs coming
Wemby.
up.
Oh man, Wemby third season. I should have known. It's not even like it's his rookie year.
If you had an extra 1 minute to think about it, you probably would have come to that conclusion. But yes,
Right.
basketball, 150,000 cards graded by PSA. Yeah. And then there's a
Gotcha.
huge drop off. So from TCG, football, baseball, basketball, and then a huge drop off to fifth, which is non sport, 42,000. and then it goes back to sports again, which is soccer, 26,000, and then
Mm,
hockey, 21,000. Yeah,
wow.
hockey, man,
Question.
come on.
Like
Yeah,
looking at all these numbers, and it's
yeah,
wild to think the CGC component of the 400,000 submitted was like, what was the number again? It was like four, it
four
was like
hundred sixty-eight
95%.
thousand.
Yeah.
Yes, yeah,
TCG.
yeah,
If PSA is killing is killing the TCG component, right? Like, I mean, you're starting to collect Pokemon, and I know Roy.
yeah.
I've only seen him submit the PSA, and I would assume, Clark, if you're going to submit a bunch of Pokemon cards, you're going to PSA,
Only the PSA. Yes.
right? This time next year,
Mm-hmm.
if we look at these numbers, I mean, at this point, I feel like the based on the trajectory, like PSA is also going to gobble up CGC on the TCG side. CGC has not much of a presence in sports cards, clearly, so they
Right.
only have to gobble up CGC for on the TCG component. Then
Yeah.
they just completely dominate.
Yeah.
Like by this time next year, are we seeing 2 million on PSA?
Woo.
You know,
Yeah.
50,000 Beckett, less than 100,000 CGC, and like SGC, who knows, like 20,000. Like, are we going to see that where it's just like the other grading companies are now have become completely niche? Like, you're only going to them because you like the slab or you like the look or
Yeah.
you're loyal to them. Kind of like tag grading. Tag grading is I don't know
Sure.
how much they're actually doing, but you see them on Instagram a lot, right? Because I think a lot of people like the component that you can like how detailed they are in what they did and how they came to the grade, and also the I actually personally I like the visual of the slab. I think it looks great.
Yes. Me too.
Um, but yeah, outside of like I feel like at this point it's gonna be PSA and everything else is gonna be niche.
You know what? That's not out of the realm of possibility. That's for sure. But
Right.
if you're, if you're saying that down the road, PSA might purchase CGC, if that's a possibility.
I can
Um,
I can I mean if their strategy worked on SGC, clearly they gobbled up all of
yeah.
SGC.
I'm like,
Like
CGC, don't do it. Look what happened to SGC. It's just don't do it. Remain your own brand. You got some loyal customers, okay?
right.
I think CGC are happy with the current numbers, to tell you the truth. They don't have to be number one, right?
Sure, they're doing well.
Yeah. But,
But their
the
bread and
big,
but their that's what the point is. Their bread and butter is Pokemon.
yes.
And if
Yeah.
right now SPSA is just completely gobbling up Pokemon, the writing not on the wall for no matter what they do. Like they can
Mm,
market more, they can try to be more creative, but
yeah.
like it's gonna be an insane challenge for them to keep their numbers without having PSA dig into their market share.
They do have a pristine, I think it's pristine, black 10, kind of similar to the Beckett
Oh,
black
they do?
label.
Oh
So
yeah,
I don't,
with the gold, the
yes.
embossed gold font,
Yeah,
right?
yeah. So maybe market that a little bit more. That looks pretty sweet. I wouldn't mind having one of those.
Right.
And I think they do better than PSA 10s. Like maybe that's a question for Roy, but they have value. So maybe,
Hmm.
I mean, that being said, the black label for Beckett can only do so much for Beckett as a grading company. So,
Right.
but they have the volume right now. I think the bigger question is once the TCG market cools down, which I think we all agree it'll have to cool down at some point. What
Hmm.
will happen to CGC? What will that be? Will there not be that much volume to sustain CGC as a company? I don't know. I guess it depends how much it cools off. But
Right.
that's a question for me. Um, whenever that happens.
Right. So this part I'm not aware of because I've taken such a long break.
Hmm.
Is is CGC, so maybe this is a component. Is CGC's return a lot quicker than PSA?
What do you mean?
Like the grading returns. So like when you submit it,
Oh, I
like
see.
did they give it back to you within 2 weeks? Like how's PSA? Like I'm not
Oh,
aware
good
of
question.
how quick it
Yeah.
is because I know that's how SGC kind of made their mark was when PSA was really struggling with turnaround times. That's the term I
Right.
was trying to use.
Right. Right.
Struggling with turnaround times, they took advantage and stepped in there and not only gave good prices, but was like, we'll be able to get
Yeah.
it door to door to you in 15 business days, right? And
Yeah.
that was a big component of why a lot of people, and maybe a lot of people right now, I don't know, but someone else probably has the answer, but are
Yeah.
people
No, good
using
question.
CGC because the turnaround time is so much greater that they can flip car, whatever they need to do with, right?
Yeah. I think PSA is also getting better in that regard too. So that's kind of scary, right? PSA has
Right.
their express service. The only thing CGC could do right now is, yeah, sure, the turnaround times could be quick, and maybe it is quick, but you know, I'm sure it's definitely not as expensive to grade with CGC than it is with PSA, right? So maybe that's a competitive advantage they have, and unlike SGC, I don't think CGC has done that great a job marketing themselves as a
Mm,
premier grading company. So maybe that's something they could invest in. Like, hey, CGC, this is our brand. Like, I think Tag's done a better job than CGC,
for
to tell you
sure.
the truth,
Does
right?
CGC even have a social media? Do they even have
Like,
like an Instagram account? I don't even know if I've ever seen anyone
they
from the
do,
company
but
step
that
up and do anything.
they do. But to your point, yeah, I don't know how many people are know about it, or it's in your face. The algorithm certainly doesn't feed it to me. And
Right.
it's funny when I go to a card show, they have a booth, but it looks like the booth is from the 90s. You know what I mean? It's just like, the sign, they got to update their signage, I think. That's my opinion, but
Right.
they could do a lot more on the marketing front. Maybe that's a
Yeah.
good play. Maybe that's a good investment for them.
It's
So,
like the Office where they the show The Office when they're at the convention and they're just sitting there with like a
yeah.
piece of paper.
Come on, CGC. Don't be like those guys in the, the office. Uh, the show. Yeah. No, that's a good comp. All right. Well, you did pretty well. 4 out of 5. I'll give you 4.5. I'll give you point 0.5 on
Nice.
that last. So congrats on a high score. All right. Let's finish our show with our regular weekly segment we call Pick One. And since Hyung's not here, John, do you want to start things off for us?
Yeah, let's do it. So we know goats are making their bull run right now. And outside
Yep.
of goats, I think it's Otani. Like everyone, it's still Otani. It's like the
Mm-hmm.
goats. It's always something. Sports cars was only Otani at one point, and now the goats have caught up. But it's the
Yeah.
goats and Otani. It doesn't look like this guy is gonna stop, right? Like the hype. There is the
Yeah.
hype train, and we're past the honeymoon stage of the first 3 years. Like we're way past that. But this guy is such a freaking unicorn
Yep.
that with the hype, there is so much confidence behind it that he's going to
Yes.
go down as like the greatest ever. He may not, he's got his championships already. He may not
Mm-hmm.
like break records. So, like numbers wise, I think that I don't know if he's going to get that chance. But just the fact that he's such a unicorn,
Mm-hmm.
like there's just so much confidence and the money clearly is behind it. So, my question is going to be if you're an investor, whether new or existing, right? You've been in the game for a while, or you're like brand new coming in, and you're going to go into baseball. Are you going to go Otani or
Mm-hmm.
anything else in baseball? It could be vintage, it could be Babe Ruth, it could be whatever. Juan Soto, underrated studs, the super suppressed Mike Trout at this point. Anything other than Shohei. Is it Shohei or is it anything else in baseball? Kabooms, whatever. I don't even know if there's a kaboom, but or like the
Yeah.
old school kaboom.
Yeah.
Anything. What are we
Hmm.
doing?
First of all, why you gotta rub salt on the wound by mentioning the Mike Trout card? Okay, that's unnecessary. But
Oh yeah, you saw the Mike Trout card.
hey, speaking of
He's
which, that's
he's
part.
having a relatively healthy year for his standards.
Yeah, he's yeah.
He's been injured for 20 games or so. I don't know. Like I haven't really followed too much, but
That's all I can ask for right now. So yes, just
yeah,
keep playing, stack those numbers. He's stuck on 20 home runs, too shy away from 400. So I'm
yeah.
waiting for that to happen. But anyway, and Kaboom, there are Will has a lot of unlicensed Kaboom
A
baseball cards.
license. Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah.
So, but going back to your question, oh man, it's the same reason why I still don't have a Shohei, other than being really priced out of the ones that I want. And
Right,
I'm now looking at like the second and third tier Shohei Otani cards to have.
right.
So I like that play because I think Otani, like you're mentioning in your intro to the segment, he's a unicorn. And I think there are some cards that are really nice to have that I could still appreciate in value. That being said, I'm still there's baseball cards are there's so many out there that
Mhm.
that means there's so many plays still to be had. I think so, and I think it's more fun. I wouldn't feel as good paying even $1,000 on a Otani card, whatever I could get for $1,000, probably fourth tier cards at this point, right?
Right.
Versus even we're going to talk Jonah Tong before Hyung had to step out, but someone that I think is exciting to follow for short term. I think I would rather prefer to do that. So I get what you're saying,
Mhm.
but there's a part of me too. I hate paying high for anything, so that's another thing. But
Do we at this point feel like Otani is going to come down? There's going to be a buying
right.
opportunity for Otani because it's looking, man, it's looking like Toronto real estate. It's just, yeah, it might kind of
Yeah,
come down a little, but it's just going to keep going up.
yeah. That's the scary part.
Like,
So
are we just completely missing? We've been saying we want to get into a nice Otani card for like the last 3 years, and we're just
yeah,
missing the boat after missing the boat after missing the boat.
but that. I think that's the reality. If we're comparing to Toronto real estate, my dreams of buying a detached house are over. I'm looking for a townhouse at this point.
Right.
If I'm
Right.
lucky. So yeah, I'm gonna go with the other cards. It's just the rest of the field is still so huge. There's got to be some plays I could make that will hopefully generate profits so I can buy a Shohei Otani down the road.
I think the way you lay it out, the easy answer is probably the rest of the field because there's just so
Yeah.
much out there. But man, I think the point that I'm just trying to make is I'm now not too sure about if Shohei Ohtani is going to come down. He'll slow down. It'll slow down. It might come down, but I don't know if it's going to come down a lot like we thought. Like
Hmm.
it went up
Yeah.
and it should in the off season. He might. Well, the only thing at this point, and nobody wants to see this, is if he has some kind of crazy injury like
Right.
that would really kind of bring suppress his cards and really bring it down. Um, but as a fan, it's just like Otani's got no haters. He's like the ultimate marketing tool. He's big. He's good looking. He appeals to like international markets. He's swinging home runs. He's striking out batters. Like there's no end to this guy. So I if I'm strictly wearing my investor hat, I think the diversifying your portfolio thing makes a lot of sense. And
Hmm.
I think that's the easy answer, and that's going to be also my answer. But it's making I just making the point that man, Shohei, it's like it does feel like Shohei versus the field right now.
It does. It does. I mean, he seems to be bulletproof. There's been other stuff in the news about Otani, the whole gambling thing, of course, which was his
Right.
translator. And then this real estate thing. I don't know if you saw that news. Him and some real estate agent getting into trouble trying to, I don't know, just Google it. But that's not impacting.
I think I saw a snippet of it. I didn't look into it, but
Yeah, no. So, even these off the field news doesn't seem to be impacting him. But if you're looking at recent trends, I was curious since you brought
mm,
up Shohei. The last time it dipped, okay, like even, and to your point, it dips, but it creates a brand new floor. Like it's so much
right.
higher than the previous floor. So the last time it dipped, and if you're going to play trends, the perfect time to buy next is February of this coming year. Because last
Mm,
year, January 2024 was the peak, and it dipped for a few months, February to March, April, I think. Let me double check. Um, till both, yeah, February to early May, and then the skyrocket happens again, and that it hasn't gone back down since May of 2025. So yeah, maybe if you see that dip in early next year, I wouldn't expect a huge dip,
hmm
but consider that your new floor. So if you're looking to get an Otani card, that's maybe the best time to get the one you really want at that point.
Right. Question:
Yeah.
if Otani did have a grave injury, right?
Hmm.
Like everyone says, I'm all in on Otani.
Yeah.
The moment there's an opportunity to buy, like a real crazy opportunity, I'm all in. I'm going, right?
Yeah.
That really at this point, it would be something like that, like a grave injury where he's just out for like a year or two, like solid.
Yeah.
But if that happens, a lot of people kind of like you and I, as much as we would be like, oh, this is when I'm going in,
Hmm.
you know, we'd probably shy away with it, right? Like it's kind of like Jason Tatum. You're going on he's got Achilles injury for a full season. Like I think most people at this point are not probably they know the right answer is if I'm going for Tatum long term, I
Yeah.
should go now. But
Yeah.
it's just such a not exciting slash
Yeah.
risky play that you'll talk yourself out of it. So let's say Otani does have a grave injury right now and he's out for like 2 seasons and his career might be in jeopardy. Do you think
Yeah.
this crazy run Otani had long term his legacy will still uphold if the injury happened today? Like, is there still crazy injury risk with Otani?
Man, I don't know, man. He's such
Do
a
you think
unicorn. I
right? Like, do you
just,
think that he's now cemented his status, or
yeah.
if his career ended, potentially it was close to ending today?
Yeah,
Like, well,
that's a really good question. I don't know. I don't know what to tell you the truth. Like when you're talking about injuries, he had a Tommy John. That was a good time to get one. And then now
yeah, of
he's proved all naysayers wrong about how
course,
good he is.
chicks,
So if
chicks
he,
still dig the long bomb,
yeah,
man. Like, who
I'm like,
cares
I
about the
guess,
pitching?
yeah, I guess Tommy John doesn't impact your power of hitting home
Yeah.
runs. So, I mean, if that was the case, oh, he's like, oh shoot, another Tommy John. I'm in. But if it was more, this is the end of his career, I still think despite everything that he's done,
Yeah.
I think you would see a decrease somewhat. I
You
don't think
would
it'll go
you
to,
would definitely like a lot of people get scared. Like no question there'd be a
yeah,
decrease. But let's say
yeah,
his car, like the red ink auto, where it's a highly desired rookie card, it's I don't know, right now it's at 25 grand.
yeah,
Let's say it drops to like 12.
yeah.
Like are you in? Right?
But there's a potential he's done,
But
done.
there's a potential he's done. So now it's just straight like how good was his legacy? Are you in at 50%?
No,
Stuck with, I don't know. Is it kind of you know what I'm
no, yeah,
saying?
yeah. That's hard. That's hard.
It's hard.
Ask me in 10 years, I'm like, okay, he's got enough stats at that point. But even 5 years. But
Right.
I still,
Right.
this is a, yeah, he's still young relatively, and he could
Yeah, the
accomplish
injury
so
risk
much
is
more.
yeah, I think you answered it. I think the injury risk is still there.
Yeah. The
But
severity of the injury will matter.
yeah, he's getting close though. He's getting pretty close to like
Yes.
cementing a legacy.
Every year he plays. Yeah, for sure. I agree
Exactly.
with you. That's a good one. All right, let's finish with mine. I chose basketball for this one. SGA, his 2018 select courtside gold rookie, 10 out of 10. Sorry, not the grade. The number, serial number is 10 out of 10, but the grade is PSA 9. Okay, that's sold for just over 10K. Or are you going with Cooper Flag, the new hot thing right now, 2024-25 Bowman U Chrome Red Refractor number to 5, PSA 8, Auto 10, and the auto is inscribed the Brotherhood.
The Brotherhood,
So it's an
based on
inscription
Duke.
auto. Yeah, PSA 8, Auto 10, red number to 5 versus the SGA Select Courtside Gold number to 10, PSA 9.
Right.
Both sold for just
On
over
card or
10K.
sticker?
I believe it's a sticker.
Oh boy, you already know what. I already knew my answer, but that just put it over the
That
top.
just cemented. Okay.
Yeah. I
So you
mean,
go
we obviously have a bit of a Canadian bias,
with right.
and Select Gold. I mean, Select as a brand has taken a pretty big punch over the years, so
Yeah.
it's not the desired card, but it's up there. It's one of the big boy SGA Shea Gilgeous cards. Cooper, I don't know. Bowman U is still not. Bowman U doesn't
Mm.
really do it for me, if I'm being honest. If I'm going to spend 10 grand, I'd rather, I don't know. I'd still, like some people might say Bowman U, oh, like one of his first, yada, yada, yada. But I think that sentiment, people are trying to force it. It
Mm.
only works with baseball. Baseball is so specific. There's just something about Bowman first. It still has the licensing, so it looks like a major league card. I think a lot of that really has to, and it has a bit of a history. Bowman U, I'm not convinced. Like I don't think Bowman U. I'm just not. I'm not. If I'm gonna spend 10 grand on Cooper
Yeah.
Flag, if you know me, I'm not gonna buy anyone in the first 3 years. So regardless, I'm not
Yeah.
picking Cooper Flag.
Yeah.
But if I were 10 grand, like I'm going for his first Topps Chrome. I'm
Mm.
going for his first flawless. I don't even know that he's going to have a flawless anymore, but I'm
Right.
going for something else that's NBA related, not Bowman U. So this one's an easy for me. It's
Yeah.
yeah. Whatever was on the other side, I was probably going to pick anyways, and it's SGA gold. Like that's an
Yeah.
easy one.
Easy one for you. Yeah, you know what? It was an easy one for me, but I wonder um, how many would have gone for Cooper, knowing the hype of Cooper right now, it being a
Right.
red refractor, number to 5, of course, so really scarce. I know the sticker would have docked some points for a lot of people, but it is inscribed as well, so a lot of different factors in play. But I think for both of us, it was an easy SGA gold select. I'm wondering if our listeners think the same way, or if you think you would have gone for Cooper. Let us know. You could always DM us at Cards to the Moon or at 5cardguys on Instagram. All right, that's it for the show. Thanks for tuning in. We'll have a brand new show for you next week. Talk to you then. Bye. Hey, thanks for listening to Cards to the Moon. We'd really appreciate you subscribing to our podcast wherever you listen to your podcasts. And you can also connect with each of us on Instagram at 5cardguys, or you can follow Hyung at Integrity Sports Cards, or John at TradeU at Recess. You can also check us out at 5cardguys.com. Thanks again, and hope to connect soon.